Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For this review, we're going to be discussing the 1949 baseball musical, Take Me Out to the Ballgame, starring Gene Kelly, Frank Sinatra, Esther Williams, and Betty Garrett. Plus, Betty Garrett, you probably, television viewers, at least in my generation, remember Betty Garrett for being in several episodes of All in the Family and being the landlord and landlord and eventually stepmother to Laverne in the Laverne and Shirley television show. But back in the 40s and 50s, she was like a major movie musical star. It starred several couple films with Frank Sinatra and Gene Kelly, most notably On the Town. That's how she is. She was about maybe 29 or 30 when she did this movie. Anyway, now I'm focusing just on her. But Take Me Out to the Ball Game was really the first really baseball musical. Even though 5 years later, the movie Damn Yankees came out, and that was, many people consider Damn Yankees to be the first baseball musical because it was based on a Broadway play. I have to make that clear. But Take Me Out to the Ball Game was not based on a Broadway show or a Broadway musical. It was just a straight musical movie, or movie musical, I should say. And this movie was co-written by Gene Kelly. I should point that out because of his love of the Broadway movie musical, and also old-time baseball back in the early 20th century. Because a lot of the baseball players, of course, back then, did not make the millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars that the ball players do today. So they have to, a lot of them, the vaudeville circuit was very popular back then in the early part of the 20th century. So, particularly in the 1910s and the 1920s, and even into possibly the 1930s, it was hit by the Depression. So, but the vaudeville circuit was very popular back in the 19-teens and the 1920s. And a lot of ball players supplemented their salaries by doing the vaudeville circuit. And so the two main stars, and sure, I think also the third guy who was in this movie, who played, I think his name was Goldberg in the film. He also co-starred with Gene Kelly and Frank Sinatra in the movie On the Town. So he co-starred with them again in this film. I should point that out. But the two main characters, of course, are Frank Sinatra and Gene Kelly, who played a shortstop. Or Gene Kelly was the shortstop, and Frank Sinatra was the second baseman. And the character's name was Goldberg. He played first base. But Sinatra and Kelly played two baseball players who also starred on the vaudeville circuit, where they had an act. And then one particular day, they found out that the owner died. The owner of the baseball team dies, and just before spring training, and of course Sinatra and Gene Kelly's characters, their names Ryan and O'Brien, and Goldberg was the first baseman, and they have a big musical number in the film because of that. O'Brien and Ryan and Goldberg, I'm not gonna sing the song, guys. And what happened was they ended the vaudeville run, and they haul ass to go to spring training down in Florida, and as soon as they get there, they found out that the owner had died, and the team gets inherited by one of his relatives, and they all thought it was a guy, but meanwhile, when they K.C. Higgins, and it happened to be played by Esther Williams, who was, of course, famous for doing swimming, not only musicals, but also do a lot of underwater stuff, a lot of swimming scenes in movie musicals. That's what Esther Williams was famous for. And she did do a swimming sequence in this film as well, to keep up with her stereotype with doing underwater musical sequences for movies, for the movie musical. And of course, in the beginning of this, when they found out that at first Gene Kelly and Esther Williams didn't really get along, And then Frank Sinatra said, okay, see, these two guys, see, two of them are not getting along. Maybe I could make a move with Esther Williams. And he does so, and Gene Kelly came in underneath him, and they got into a little bit of a beef because, hey, I thought she was going to be my girl. Maybe you bulldogged me and you took her away from me. While this was going on, Frank Sinatra was being chased around by an obsessed fan played by Betty Garrett, and the two of them had good chemistry because, like I said earlier, they were also on the movie On the Town together, so they already have a rapport already on screen. So she was chasing him around. Well, while the love story was going on, of course the season was going on, and the team that they play on, the Wolves, were defending champions of the league. And of course, the team they play on is a fictional team. It's a fictional team, folks. I should make that point clear. While this was going on, they had a bunch of gamblers who were betting against the Wolves for Cleveland. Whereas they did use the actual name for Cleveland, the Cleveland Indians. They did use that name. I should point out, I don't know why they didn't make up a real name for the team, but same thing with the National. I mean, they used all the other names in the National League, but the New York Knights were a fictional made-up name by Bernard Mulliber, who wrote the story in his book. Anyway, these gamblers bet against the Wolves, and the thing that they could do is maybe try to convince Gene Kelly, because Gene Kelly, even though he did have a good act in the vaudeville circuit, so the gamblers said, they got an idea, because they found out that Gene Kelly's dream was to have his own show on the vaudeville circuit with about 50 girls, chorus girls behind him as he's performing in the vaudeville circuit. So his gamblers were betting against the Wolves. Says, hey, I got an idea. When do we set up a show for O'Brien, the Gene Kelly's character, and we say we're going to have about 30 girls behind him, and we rehearsing all night long, and he'll be so tired he can't play the next day. And of course, the night that the Wolves will lose, and we will clean up big by banging against them. And the other gamblers said, "Oh, that's a good idea. Let's try to see if we can do that." And for a while, they were successful in doing it. And then Betty Garrett found out that what these guys were up to, and she told the team why O'Brien was playing so badly. I think I'm mixing up the names. I think it was actually his name was like Ryan. No, it was O'Brien. His name. And I'm mixing up the two names here, folks. If I am, sorry about that. But so they told the team, so they get Gene Kelly back on, and he does start the game. Well, what happens is before every game, the three players, Ryan, O'Brien, and Goldberg, do this pantomime act, this clowning act before every game. And Esther Williams told him, okay, enough's enough with the clowning stuff. Let's play serious baseball here. Because I wanted this team to play serious baseball and cut out the clowning. Because there was a lot of clowning going on in baseball in those days as well. Especially when the Negro League store, they had a lot of teams that did a lot of clowning. So originally the Seconds pulled that act. What Betty Garrett character found out was that if Gene Kelly played, his gamblers were going to do something to physically hurt him, if not kill him. For playing. So Frank Sinatra decides to bet because during the clowning act, Frank Sinatra was supposed to hit Gene Kelly in the head with a pitch, but usually they use like a sponge, like a spongy, a foam rubber baseball. They didn't have rubber back then, but they had like a sponge, like a fake baseball that would hit him in the head, but would not do any serious damage because like a sponge. It's like a sponge painted to look like a baseball. So if you hit him in the head with a sponge, he's not going to get hurt. So, but instead of throwing the fake ball, throws an actual ball, and Gene Kelly knocks him out, because now he can't play. So he's supposed to be in the locker room, and the gamblers are holding him in the locker room, make sure he doesn't get back out onto the onto the field. And Benny Garrett found out about it, so as Esterinos and the rest of the team, so they got him out there. And the Wolves were losing by a run, and Frank Sinatra's character was on first base. He got hit. He got base hit, so now he's on first. One out in the bottom of the ninth. And Gene Kelly comes up and says, "I'm going to murder that, I want to murder Ryan because he did it on purpose. Beat me. How dare you beat me with a real ball?" And so Gene Kelly got so mad that he grabs the bat. Give me that sticking. And naturally, they didn't cuss it in movies back in 1949. He said, "Give me that damn bat." And then he actually hits a home run, wins the game, and he's running around twice, chasing Frank Sinatra all over the field. He runs around the bases, wins the game, and they clinch the pennant. And Gene Kelly was chasing Frank Sinatra around, and then they found out that the gamblers was after Gene Kelly, and then they happened to arrest the gamblers because Benny Garrett told the cops reported to the cops what was going on, and the cops arrested all the gamblers, and they won the. That's pretty much how the movie ended, except of course they did a bit at the end of Vaudeville Act, but this time they kind of like dropped the fourth wall, and they said, "Oh, Sinatra got Garrett and Kelly got Williams. Gene Kelly got Williams and Sinatra got Benny Garrett, and all four of them performed and sang at the end of the movie, and a song at the very end of the film. But the film it is a silly musical comedy. That's how I describe this movie. But I mean, it's entertaining for what it was, and it's not a movie that you can take seriously or with a grain of salt. It's just for a movie just to entertain. I don't watch movies for anyway, to be entertained, and that's what this movie was. And actually, it's always good to see Gene Kelly and Frank Sinatra together in the movie. I don't know how many movies the two of them actually did together. I know I just know the two. And I mentioned this video, On the Town, and of course this movie, Take Me Out to the Ballgame. There's only two movies that I know that they starred together. As far as I know. Naturally, I'm not an expert in Gene Kelly and Frank Sinatra films, in terms of a comedy musical duo, but it is fun to see the two of them on stage. I mean, they're kind of like the song and dance team. They're kind of like Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. It was almost a similar thing when they did musical comedies together. But this one just has a baseball theme to it. So that's my review of the movie Take Me Out to the Ballgame. Please click on the video, please rate it. Please subscribe to my channel, please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews on my YouTube channel at RallyC.com. That's all WDY, and that's C.com. That's the homepage of Rally Reviewer. Please see more. Please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.